Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show's about to begin. Ainsley, let's put on another show.
Round three, let's do it.
Round three, ding ding. Ainsley, you made a very controversial statement recently. In fact, it was yesterday. And I've hauled you into the studio to explain yourself. So do you want to just tell the audience what they probably already know, but what was the claim you made?
So it was an Arabian business. The claim was 90% of brokers would lose their job in its current format over the next 18 to 25 months.
Okay, so we're going to dive into that. And I think you think the culprit is AI. So we're going to talk about how, and look, there's no glossing over the fact that AI is going to change the way we do everything in every industry. But I think it's important to have a frank conversation about what we see changing in not just the role of the real estate broker, but also how the buyer's journey is likely to change, how sellers' journeys are likely to change, and how brokerages are likely to change, because there may be some new roles created while old roles are made extinct, perhaps. But I think the one thing that, and we polled Instagram yesterday, asking if everyone or who agrees with that statement or who disagrees. And a majority, and it's no surprise because my audience is mostly real estate agents, a majority, 61%, felt that they disagreed with that statement. Not to say that they disagreed in its entirety, but I think it was more perhaps the speed, like 18 to 24 months, felt a little bit too soon.
Yeah.
So, and we already know what products are emerging in the market. So we're going to talk about some of the ways that AI is going to change that daily way of doing business, as you say. So let's kind of start by talking about, of course, real estate is one of the oldest industries in the world, very much rooted in, it's always how it's been done. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
And one that I think as real estate brokers or having an agency background, I've always relied on, oh no, it's all about trust and relationships. But I think we're moving more towards efficiency and data.
Yeah.
What's your opinion?
So I would agree with that. But let me also clarify my earlier statement as well, just because I know it
Well, have you had too much backlash?
No, not at all. No. I still stand by it. I still stand by it. And I do feel a little bit like the guy that's kind of stood on the side of the beach saying, like, there's a tsunami coming. And everyone's like, yeah, whatever, mate. Yeah, you'll be fine, whatever. Some are listening and walking back.
Yeah.
And others of them are like walking towards the ocean. I'm like, no, don't go that way. Go this way. And they're not really listening. Whether that tsunami hits in 12 or 24 minutes or 31 minutes, if I'm slightly
hitting.
out, it's hitting. And when it does hit, no one will care about how long it took to hit.
True.
They'll all be talking about the actual tsunami. Okay. So the time period is semantics to a certain extent. But let me kind of clarify it. I used the Blockbuster video analogy previously about in 2000. Blockbuster was offered 50 million by Netflix. They laughed them out the room and said, "Forget about it. Who do you think you guys are? You got no idea. We're the kings of the video industry, video rental industry.
Come in here with your tech stack.
Come in here with your tech
and your trainers.
Yeah, exactly. Thinking you know what's going on. You got no idea." Yeah. 10 years later, Netflix was filing for bankruptcy. Blockbuster, was filing for bankruptcy, and Netflix was kind of ate their lunch. And when I look at this, one thing that's important to also mention. I was previously the CEO of Groupon. Yeah. So in the year 2000, that same year, I also remember we were actually, and no one, I remember it because I lived through it. We were actually the first people that were selling digitally in country and taking payments. prior to that, people were buying from Amazon, but they were buying from the Amazon in the US.
Right.
And they were drop shipping to the US address, and then they were and then they're having it sent over to. People weren't buying here locally. So I've seen this kind of thing happen before.
Tech revolution.
The tech revolution, digital revolution. I've seen it happen once before with that, and now everybody's, the UAE is one of the most technically advanced when it comes to kind of that kind of thing. So I've seen it before.
And not only that, but you're a property finder, which is the largest prop tech in the region.
Correct.
For the
international business director for Property Finder. So I open countries in Qatar, Lebanon, Egypt, Morocco, Bahrain, and Saudi Arabia. So I've got a little bit of regional knowledge in terms of how these things work and how these things break down. So what I would say is, in as much as what Uber did to the taxi business and the taxi industry, in terms of people are no longer picking up the phone and phoning for a taxi and saying, I'm still under, this oak tree, come and pick me up, house number 23 or whatever. Yeah. That's gone from that industry. And many of the things will also be gone from the real estate industry as well. And people will have to evolve in the way that they conduct the business. Okay.
So I want you to stick around till the end of this episode, because hopefully between Ainsley and I will give you the tools on how you can evolve. Not that, there's by no way claiming to be AI experts, but I've certainly kind of moderated quite a lot of panels recently on the subject. We're in AI Week now, Dubai AI Week, and I've been privy to a lot of conversations about what's coming. So, and you're obviously on the ground as a real estate CEO of Off-Market Listing Dubai, so you know what buyers have access to, you know what sellers have access to, and you can come at it from the broker's point of view. So as I mentioned, we polled the audience, 61% of them disagree with you. I also disagree, and will to some extent. And so I thought it would be rude not to ask ChatGPT what they thought about your statement.
Okay.
And here's what they said. I won't replace the traditional real estate agent, at least not entirely. But I will change what a successful agent looks like. Here's how. I can already analyze markets faster than a human. I can match buyers and sellers in seconds, not days. I can write listings, optimize prices, and predict trends. I can remove friction, no emotions, no missed calls, no forgotten follow-ups. I don't miss leads. I don't forget to follow up. I don't sleep, take holidays, or worry about split commissions. I don't let bias, ego... ChatGPT's got a lot to say. I don't let bias, ego, or laziness get in the way of the transaction. And I optimize for speed, efficiency, and outcome every single time. But it knows its limitations, and that's a good thing about ChatGPT or AI. It says there is one thing I can't replace, at least not yet, and that is trust. I can't walk a nervous buyer through a home and read the hesitation in their eyes. I can't negotiate a deal based on gut instinct or calm a seller who's second-guessing their choices at midnight. I can't replace empathy, intuition, or the human connection. Most buyers and sellers don't want a friend in real estate. They want certainty, speed, results, and I can deliver that without emotions slowing me down. So enough of this soliloquy. In a nutshell, ChatGPT is saying, for agents who adapt, who let me handle the heavy lifting while they master the human connection, I'll be the greatest partner they've ever had. For agents who cling to how it's always been done, I'll be their biggest competition.
Yeah.
Yours sincerely, ChatGPT.
I think ChatGPT has quite succinctly put that together and explained in much better terminology what I was actually saying as well. The truth of the matter is, most of the audience that are watching this right now are probably the ones that are going to be the survivors.
Okay. Yeah, because they're switched on.
Correct.
They're
already by watching this right now, they're already adapting.
Right.
And that's half the battle. So when I made this statement, it's for those that are stagnant, those that do not move, and that those that do not change, they will be the ones that'll be ridden over.
Yeah. So you make I listened to you several times, and it was a case of it will change in its current form.
Thank you.
You're not saying that 90% of real estate agents are going to be out of the job.
No, I'm not saying that at all.
You did say that some who don't adapt.
Correct.
should be
in
nervous.
its current form.
Right.
The current form as brokers are working today.
Yeah.
Everything that they've just done today, they've been doing. That is what's going to die.
Can you give us some highlights of what you think is going to change in the way that it's being done today?
For sure. One of the ways that typically you'll get a lead will come through, however that comes through, the client will say to you, I have a budget of $2 million. I'm looking for a property. I'd like it to be on the Palm, maybe a 2-bedroom. Every broker is very familiar with how a lead comes through right now. With time, we're going to start seeing clients that are going to come through that
baked.
That have already got so much more knowledge.
Right.
They know what they want. They know where they want it. They know the market price. They're going to be a lot more informed. In a similar way as to traditionally, you went to the doctors, you'd say to the doctor, my head's hurting, my arm's aching, this is going wrong. What is it? Because you've got no idea. But now, the majority
Google
of people,
your symptoms.
you're Googling your symptoms, your ChatGPT before you go to the doctor. So when you go there...
The doctor hates it when you do that.
Doctors do hate it, but we still do it.
Right.
But when you walk into the doctor's surgery now, you have an idea about potentially, one or two options, and all you're looking for now is confirmation, and then the remedy and the solution. And I think the same thing's going to happen with real estate.
So you recently had a conversation with AI, telling it about your requirements. Tell us how that process went.
We use AI now every day. So for us, we've already started adapting. We've already started to change. So we use it in terms of how we search for the clients, what we offer them, the areas. AI, as we all know, is not based on emotion. It's based purely on data and purely on numbers. But what is interesting is it needs to have the correct data and the correct numbers in the first place. Yeah. Rubbish in, rubbish out, as we all know. So in order to be able to give that combined with the knowledge that obviously that I have from the time that I've been here, many of the other great brokers out there also have, that is a powerful combination.
Right.
And that's what we're using.
So do you think that within 18 months, because that was your estimation, within 18 months is no longer going to be filters such as price brackets or locations? Someone will already come to you with a predetermined lead that's gone through the algorithm or whatever it may be, and it spurts out the other end that this person is eligible for or suitable for this property.
So some of those aspects of it may well take longer to come into play because once again, it does come down to the data that goes in. So we're going to start seeing things change in terms of the kind of data that's collated, the type of the sun rises on the east and all this kind of thing, depending on what people want from their property. Also, they're going to become more demanding in terms of what they actually want because what they want is significantly more than the information that they're currently requesting even from the brokers right now.
Okay. So at this point, I think we have to segregate off-plan and ready properties.
Okay.
Yes. Because they are two different roles, let's be honest. So who's more at risk? The off-plan agent? Who should be listening up? The off-plan agent or the secondary?
If you sell off-plan, then you need to be listening up and you need to be listening up very, very carefully and really taking this very, very seriously.
Why?
The reason for that is currently because you are working with off-plan and the property is not yet currently built at that stage, the stage you're at now, it's all data.
No emotions.
There's very little emotion. There's a certain small amount of emotion, but it's based primarily on data. So the potential buyer that you're speaking to, they want to know, when it's going to be ready, where it's going to be.
Payment plan.
Correct. Payment plan is obviously very, very important. All of this, I was speaking to a friend the other day, and I said, I've been in Dubai, as you know, almost 20 years. I've got a lot of experience and I know a lot of different projects. But even me myself, if you were to ask me about a project in a particular area, I may know only 30 or 50 of the projects that are live right now. AI
knows all of them.
Knows all of them. And not only that, it knows all of them in so much more detail than any human ever would. In addition to that, one of the problems with all the brokers in this country, we all sleep between 6 to 8 hours a night.
If you're lucky, yeah.
If lucky. So we're not able to operate all the time. And AI is able to operate all the time in different languages, in different countries and that kind of thing as well.
Today's good off-plan agent is very good at producing an analysis of a project or a comparison of other projects that are competing.
Comparable, yeah.
Comparable properties. There is a solution for that now.
Yeah.
I was at IPS, International Property Show, a couple of weeks ago, and there is a product that you just literally put one bed in whatever project and it spurts out like a 3-page analysis of what you need to consider, how the price compares to everything else in the area, what the projection is, what the prediction is, more or less telling you whether it's a good buy or not. And that is something that I know agents will spend hours compiling.
Yep.
So that's done.
Yep.
So that's for the benefit of the broker.
100%.
But what does the broker, like if the buyer can get that report themselves, why do they need the broker? Like, are we going to get to do you predict that developers are going to just start selling their own stock using, do they need brokers?
I mean, listen, I think I've made enough predictions in the last 24 hours for anyone. But what I will say is this. It's all going to change. Mm-hmm. It's going to change faster than we anticipate. These things always do. Mm-hmm. You're never able to be ready for it. You know, it always turns up quicker. The discussion has already started. Yeah. People are already starting to make changes. If brokers watching this that are asking, what's the first thing that I can do to be more up to speed, to learn more, to understand, get yourself on ChatGPT if you're not already. Mm-hmm. Start using that daily and start learning about AI. Mm-hmm. Because either you're going to start understanding more about it or you are going to get left behind. There's no question about that. In regards to your point about developers, they're also going to be looking. They're running a business as well. And they're going to want to have a way that they're able to be as efficient as they can and do as best as they can. Mm-hmm. I do believe there is a benefit to brokers because brokers are able to have that extra reach. They are able to take the clients through. They are able to give personal opinions based on experience as well.
But as you said, it's limited to the projects that are live that they're aware of at that time. And they may also be swayed, like they might be getting a higher commission from one developer versus another. Yeah. That could influence your push sales tactic, you know. And
that won't happen with AI.
Mm-hmm. No allegiance to anyone. Okay. Yeah. Anything else on off-plan that you see coming?
I think we're going to see the most change, and there's going to be the most movement with off-plan.
When you say movement,
in terms of what we discussed, in terms of
drop-offs.
Yeah, in terms of being able to. The clients, once they're able to have that much more knowledge and once they're able to put in, or buyers are able to put in what potentially they're looking to purchase and get that feedback within a matter of seconds, yeah, that's gonna significantly move the market.
So we could very well see a fully automated service, no different to Airbnb, where it's like you look at the you look at the available opportunities and you just buy online.
Let me tell you where the difference is. There are many apps that are available right now that have got all of the developments for off-plan that are already there. Mm-hmm. Most of those are broker-centric. Mm-hmm. So the brokers will go on, the end user typically wouldn't register and wouldn't go onto those. So if that model was to continue, and then the brokers were now using the AI in order to be able to speed up the information they've got, then for many reasons, it would continue in a similar way to what it is now, but in that dynamic. What would change if the consumer was then to be able to then use that tech, which I believe that they will eventually, and then that means the consumer is then able to go directly to source and find out exactly what they need to be able to do.
So similar to the way, you used to have a travel agency in every mall, on every high street.
Exactly that.
If the consumer can go direct to the developer.
Exactly that.
Speak to a chatbot or speak to a...
Booking.com would be the best example of that. Yeah, previously you used to walk down to the high street or call up your local travel agent and say, I'm thinking about this. Now you can go, you can look, and then you're able to kind of go direct.
Okay. And that could work for off-plan because it's not, as you said, it's not really emotional. Yeah. It's, of course, there is some emotion involved, but it's more about data, numbers, gut feelings. Yeah. When it comes to secondary sales now, so this is ready property that's being resold, it's a different ball game altogether. And I've always believed that that's the real estate agent.
Yeah.
The one who can get a listing on and sell it. or they could act as the seller's agent, and then there's other people act as buyer's agents. So we'll park off plan to one side just for now.
Okay.
Let's talk about secondary sales.
Yeah.
How do you predict it changing for secondary sales? And you did make a point that luxury sales probably wouldn't be that affected.
Yes.
Why?
Yeah. So luxury would be significantly less affected because that is more of a personable type of business, the high value. People do definitely. I think that many people will still definitely want to speak to somebody. They'll still definitely want to have that opinion. They'll value that opinion that much more for the high value luxury. So I do think that those brokers that are doing, that have done very, very well in that, they will be significantly less affected. Outside of that, I do think that there is a place for a broker in secondary. There will always continue to be. But I just feel that more, with data being that much more accessible, with the client being able to have more of their needs met. I'll give a silly example. Right now, for example, nobody. I mean, maybe this country is not the best country, not the best country to give this example for. This would work much better in, say, for example, like London or somewhere else. But with time, you'll be able to say, I'm looking for this type of property in a quiet neighborhood, for example. And the AI will be able to tell you the noisier neighborhoods to the more quiet neighborhoods. And that's something that none of us are even looking at right now.
But that's based on, I guess, where it gets that information from is all the blogs that have been written, because as you said, it's all about data in, data out, rubbish in, rubbish out. So unless someone's written an article, posted it on the World Wide Web about the noisiest neighborhoods in London, ChatGPT is not going to pick it up. Or unless there's a study published every year with the noisiest areas or noisiest boroughs in London, ChatGPT won't pick it up. So do you think of course, we are definitely the age of information, and one thought that I had was, if we do move to like an Airbnb style model or Booking.com model, what's the one thing people rely most on before they click checkout? Reviews. So do you think we're going to get to a stage where secondary properties or rental properties will come with reviews from previous tenants or previous occupiers?
Okay, so let me quickly clarify. I'm not suggesting that I think that we're moving towards an Airbnb model. I kind of think to a certain extent we already kind of have that with the platforms already, property finders, So I'm not suggesting that I think we're going to go to that model. So I don't think it's going to go down that particular road. What I do think is going to happen is, okay, so let me give another one. The last example I gave didn't really hit the nail on the head in the best way. And I'm just thinking of them as literally as I'm talking to you. But
Me too. I just came up with that little review idea.
Okay.
That's a great startup idea for someone.
So there's people out there now that are working on all these different ideas, because these are going to be some of the biggest growth areas. So there's no question about that. But I will say this, in as much of at the moment, and I know that some of the companies will know exactly how many viewings that their average broker does in order to before they have the actual sale. Okay, let's just say for argument's sake,
20.
It's 20. Okay, that number is going to significantly decrease. There will not be as many viewings in 4 years' time, 3 years' time, 2 years' time as to what we're having right now, because the buyers will have that much more knowledge. And then everything would have been, the short list would have been
distilled
considerably. Okay. So that's one thing that we're going to start seeing happening.
So, and I agree with this prediction that I believe the real estate agent role will never die out, but I do believe that their job is or their tasks are gonna kick in much later in the
life cycle. Yeah.
So right now, the real estate agent is involved in listing the property, getting the inquiry, answering the lead, qualifying the lead, arranging the viewing, Yeah. So all of that beforehand is going to be taken care of with AI. Yeah. They'll come ready shortlisted, ready knowledgeable. All they really need to do at that stage is view the property for a final sniff test and a sound check, isn't it? And a vibe check.
Let's for the vibe check. Let's not forget that many of these, especially if the buyers outside the country or even inside the country, they may well view digitally as well.
Yeah, true. Okay, so
Yeah,
let's talk about, all right.
So
Yeah,
but the vibes check still stays.
The vibe check still because you could. There's only so much that you can see on these 3D tours and
the vibe check should
so
still
vibe check and sniff because you want to make sure it's
yeah.
not like it's smelling like sewage
Yeah,
or something.
yeah.
So and the final, like you said, vibe check. Okay, so let's tackle that beginning bit. Starts with the listing.
Yeah.
So right now, traditionally, secondary seller thinking of selling my property. What's the first thing they need?
In terms of with a broker,
Well, just the first part of their journey begins with getting a price.
Yes.
Getting a valuation.
Yes.
So would you say there's tools out there right now that can give you a pretty good prediction of what
there are tools out there right now that can give them a very good prediction,
Okay.
and there's going to be tools out there fairly soon that's going to be even faster, even quicker, and
Even
give
more accurate.
and give even more, with more accuracy and more information.
Okay.
So yes, that's immediately going to happen.
So then what is that seller going to be looking for from their agent? Because it's no longer come around, give me a valuation on my property.
Yeah.
What are they inviting them around to do?
They may well still invite them around because they may well feel that the agent, especially if they've worked locally in that area, may have some additional information that they may well have that they might want to give that hasn't been. A new supermarket might be opening up. You know, they may have knowledge of that's coming, or a new subway, tube line, whatever, that they weren't aware of. That is going to, change something, impact them locally. So they may want to get some local knowledge, but they will go in armed with the information that they've got themselves from their own work.
So, for me, it's the agent has then got to go and justify why they're best placed to sell that property. Got nothing to do with I can get you the best price because they'll already know what the value is.
Yep.
So it's more about how do you convince me as a seller to list my property with you?
Yes, not only that, what it's going to come back round to. Unfortunately, I didn't make these rules, but this is just what's happening. And I'm sure there'll be some people watching that'll be angry with me because I'm the one that's kind of like voicing this. But this is coming no matter what. It's coming no matter what. So you may as well embrace it and start working with it. So that potential seller may well then say to the broker, what are you doing, with AI in order to sell my property? And that's a question that they may well have not had before. And the broker that has the most knowledge and says, I'm using X, Y, and Z in order to be able to help market your property may well quite possibly be the one that wins that listing as well.
And do you think we're going to move into more of a exclusivity industry, or you think multiple agents will still get a crack
I
at the
think
whip?
it's always beneficial. I think people always want to kind of... Sometimes they want to try, multiple agents. Other times people, if they come from other markets especially, they might say, listen, I'd rather work with just the one. I see the benefit in working with just the one.
Well, let's think it through, because if we're going from 20 viewings to sell a property, even though that's the agent's KPI, but it's probably quite similar to property. It probably needs to be viewed 10 to 15 times before you get an offer, right? So you're going from 10 to 15 people walking through the door to probably 2 or 3 really qualified coming through the door. So I think that lends to us moving to more exclusive, because you don't need you don't need to list with 3 agents to get 3 viewers.
Correct.
So we move to exclusivity, and I'm just trying to predict now, get my crystal ball out. Less viewings equals more impactful viewings, which means I just need one agent to bring in that top 3.
We're moving towards quality over quantity. In whichever matrix that you're looking at, that's what we're moving towards very, very quickly, which is also why I said that, the sheer numbers of people that we have doing the job at the moment. But please also understand, this is not just limited to real estate. Other industries are also going to suffer the same kind of fate as well. I think the legal profession is one area where I think lots of people understand that
Everyone's writing their own contracts now.
everyone's writing their own contracts right now, and
Everyone's consulting their lawyer, ChatGPT.
yeah, everyone's writing it, and they'll taking it to the lawyer just to confirm, is this correct? And
But similar to the role of the real estate agent, it's not that lawyers are going to disappear. It's just that they kick in on court day. Do you see what I mean? Or
Yes.
like they kick in when you need a physical presence, representation by a lawyer in court in front of a judge. But who's to say that process isn't all going to be automated?
So we need to be careful in terms of the speed at which all these different things happen. But yes, definitely initially, the work that was done previously outside of the courtroom, much of that is now starting to be taken over by tech. But in addition to that, even when some of them are in the courtroom, some of the work that was done by their clerks or their administrators to find different things, that's also now being done by tech. So it really is changing at a fast rate of knots.
Okay, so to recap how far we've got so far, we think off-plan is going to change considerably more than secondary.
There's no shadow of a doubt. And I think if anybody thinks that through, they can see how and why that clearly is going to be happening, especially from a broker standpoint.
Okay, and then we split up secondary market into luxury and everything else. So luxury, you predict, will still stay relatively the same as it is now, built on relationships, trust who you know, and so on. But the mid-market and lower end of the market, you're going to have sellers who are a lot more savvy on what the value is. So they don't necessarily need an agent to come and value for them, but they're going to need to appoint an agent to do the viewings and convince them that they're best placed to sell their property.
Bottom line, buyers are going to be that much more educated than they've ever been before.
So they
as will also sellers.
Okay, so any other tools you predict that will change the seller's process or the seller's journey?
I mean, many of the things that we're talking about right now, those tools haven't gone public. So there are tools that are out there that are being worked on. They just haven't launched them yet. They're in testing phases now. But as these start coming into the market, it's going to start changing the market.
Okay, let's move on to buyers.
Okay.
How's their life going to change? How's their life cycle going to change?
I think it's going to be a much smoother process. It's going to be a much quicker process, and I think it'll be something that will become a much more enjoyable process for them as well.
They're going to have a new, I guess, more intuitive response to their needs, solved by AI rather than by the advice of a broker. You think all of that's going to happen?
They are going to be able to ask for more in terms of what their requirements are.
Give me an example.
They're going to be able to be that much more detailed. They're going to be able to say, I want a property within this particular budget between 8 and 9 a.m. in the morning. I want it to be 20 minutes from a school. Because
what happens between 8 and 9? Oh, right, okay. 20-minute drive.
A 20-minute drive, sorry. A 20-minute drive from the school. I
want the sun to rise out the kitchen.
I want the sun to rise on the east so I can sunbathe on the weekends. I want the rooms to be this particular size. I want the total, built-up area of the property to be. But they're going to be able to be that much more specific. Than
let's segregate. So now, as of now, you can already search for location, price range, size, and how many bedrooms.
Yeah.
And that's probably as detailed as it goes in terms of search engines. You think you're going to be able to go super granular into where the sun rises, the size of the bedrooms, but the thing is, someone has to feed all that information in the first place.
So, for some of those things, someone has to feed the information. For others of it, AI, think of it as a team of employees that all go out to go and research and source the information and then come back. They can look at where a particular property is, for example, and they can know where the sun would rise. They can know, the distance that it's going to be from a school during rush hour because those tools are already out there.
So that's Google Maps. They can base it off that.
Correct.
But what you're saying is that again, crystal ball, there is going to be a digital twin of every single major city. in the world. Do you think so?
I think there already is. I think there already is. I think it's just the more information. Everything's now being digitalized.
Now it makes sense. You know, remember Street View? Well, I mean, it's still here, but
Yeah.
Street View. They went around all the roads,
right.
and so they already know where every front door faces, I
Correct.
guess. It's just someone to compile all the inside information. And I know from the UK, every land registry has the floor plans of every property, even if they've extended it or gone into the loft or built an extension. Planning department, that's the thing. Real estate is such a huge...
It's absolutely massive. But in addition to that, one of the things is people naturally have fear, and the fear of loss and the fear of, am I going to lose my job in its current capacity? But all these things that you're also saying is it's also new opportunities and new areas that are still within the real estate realm that needs to get all of that information.
But it's about the land registry talking to the local council, speaking to everybody has to work together to share that information. If one government body, or I'm just thinking UK now, London now, like to get a digital twin of every single building, every single unit type. Of course, every developer already has a mock-up of the building. So I think it'll be a lot easier in Dubai to have a digital twin of the city than it would somewhere like New York.
Okay, so two aspects on that. Number one, if there was an entrepreneur out there that said, I can kind of see where this is going, and I would like to put together an app or whatever it may well be to showcase where the sun comes up in the morning, for example, on different types of properties, right? If they wanted to put that together. Once that's together, then others can then feed into that and then be able to get that information out. So that'll be the first point, I'd say.
Maybe that's what Alexa's been busy doing in our apartments, in our houses recently, scanning.
I'm sure all these things are.
Feeding
it's all
into-
about knowledge and it's all about information.
It's all about
right?
data.
It's all about data. In regards to the Dubai aspect,
We're just speculating here, by the way.
Yeah, in as much as to the Dubai aspect, I do think Dubai is going to be one of the early adopters for much of this. Why? Because of the size of our market. I think that helps being able to litmus test that much easier in a smaller market as opposed to going to a much larger market. I also think because much of the processes over here are already digitalized, it's much easier to plug things into all of this. We already have the smart contracts now. Everything's already been done digitally. Our process is already one of the fastest in the world. But I think with all of with some of the other tech now added to that, I think that is then going to make it even faster, and people will be able to buy properties literally end to end, within minutes.
So globally, there's been $30 billion invested in real estate technology since 2012. And Dubai is fully embracing or incubating that prop tech ecosystem. I'm part of several groups where I don't see that same support, encouragement, and freedom anywhere else, like New York, London. Yeah, you've got the startups, you've got the entrepreneurialism, but because they're linked to such heritage assets and, this is the way it's always been done, it's very hard for them to accelerate. So I think Dubai is going to be the launch pad for a lot of the future prop tech or real estate related tech startups.
Definitely. The whole region. I mean, it may well be tested in the UAE, but then after that, and it's successful, then it's going to spread across the region that much faster.
Okay, so buyer journey. Are we done with the buyer? Do we think their life's going to be made any more? So apart from the search function,
if you're able to take away many of the current pain points in buying a property, make it more accurate, make it faster, make it quicker, give you more information and give you more knowledge, I believe the buyer is gonna be happy with that. Myself as a potential buyer, I would be over the moon to be able to have even more knowledge than we're currently getting. Yes, that's a winner.
Okay, and then there's always that thing where people say, the hand-holding, the emotional side, where ChatGPT even admitted itself, I don't have the trust yet.
Yes.
do buyers actually need? Is it that emotional for a buyer? Do
I-
you really need hand holding?
I believe so. I believe, and that might sound kind of counterintuitive to some of the other comments that I've made. But so number one, I think that there are going to be brokers that are going to be available to be able to do that. But number two, I think it is an important part of the process for many people. Buying a property is one of the most expensive purchases that they've made. So that human interaction to walk them through it is definitely going to be something that many people are going to appreciate and going to want across the board.
And if you're buying a property to live in
Yeah.
rather than an investment,
Yeah.
it is less about the data. It is less about the historic
To
transaction.
a certain extent.
I think
To a
you're more
certain
likely
extent.
to just say, "Oh, blow the budget." If you're going to live there, there is more. I have to love this. There is a lot more emotion needed.
There's a lot more emotion, but the data still matters, depending on what the data is, right? I mean, we've spoken about distances to your office in the morning,
Yeah.
or those things are still going to play a role, but it depends what the data is, and there's so many data points going all the way through that could make a change in that.
Okay, so the future of real estate agents. So there's a debate if it's going to be tech-enabled agents or agent-enabled tech.
Tech-enabled agents or agents-enabled tech? Okay.
Which one do you think it's going to be?
Agents-enabled tech. I think agents that have more knowledge and have the tech that they're able to use it. I think those guys are gonna.
Then that's a tech-enabled agent. So you're leaning on the side of the tech-enabled agent rather than an agent-enabled tech. It's like, who's at the end of the value chain here?
Yes.
The agent or the tech?
Yes. I think that the agent enabled with the tech.
Okay. So you still
You're
believe in...
wording it as in,
Okay.
yeah.
So you believe in the tech-enabled agent rather than the tech being running the show and they've got some agents kind of...
The tech will run the show, but it'll run the show initially at first from the back office. But yeah, with time, it can play an even greater role and go all the way through.
Well, that leads me on to the back office.
Yep.
Brokerages.
Yep.
How do you predict
Yeah.
they're going to change over the next 12 to 18 months? And what roles could be created in the back office and what roles may be eliminated in the back office?
So I believe that, and I also mentioned this before previously on the other podcast, that the brokerages that embrace the AI and the tech are going to be the ones that are going to significantly benefit. In terms of job roles, job roles could change. Many of these job roles, even if you were to lose, the job doing the particular role you're doing right now, you could also be reassigned to do something else that would still mean you're working, but you're not doing the same thing that you're previously doing because the tech's able to do it for you. The tech, it's almost like having the human intelligence of a person or a team that's able to do those roles that were previously, done by a human, uploading the listings and all this kind of thing. This can all be done by tech.
And one thing that I heard recently was there's a lot of companies out there now who don't even hire based on your CV or your interview skills. They couldn't care less. You applied for a job, you come in, you sit down, and you prompt. And they will hire you based on your AI prompts. Now, and I'm not sure what roles these are, but
Right.
your ability to finesse or eloquently ask AI to do something.
Yeah.
Right now, let's be honest, the way we do it is like, you ask AI to do something, make it shorter.
Yeah.
Or you'll say, make it less formal.
Yeah.
Very basic prompting, but it's now become a really coveted skill to be able to write the most eloquent prompt that will pull out the ideal output
Right.
as quickly as possible.
Yeah. So I've got another couple of points on that one. The first one would be when many people are going for these jobs now, what we're seeing is, and I had it recently actually. I was speaking to somebody about branding, and I was just talking to them, going through marketing and that type of thing. And they said to me, "Oh, all your ideas and your suggestions," which I'd just been speaking with her over the phone, and she said, "Can you put it pen to paper and put it all down for me and send it across to me, and then I'll come back to you with my feedback based on that."
Pen and paper?
Send it across in written format, whatever.
So she wants a transcript of the conversation.
She wants a transcript
AI
of the
does that already.
She wants a transcript of the conversation.
There's an otter that takes.
That's right. But we weren't using that. We were just having a quick call. But then I realised the reason why she wanted that is because she wanted to have the exact words, exactly what I was looking for. So then she could then probably put it into, ChatGPT or the like, to then work out exactly, the response that needs to be given back. So that it's an example of how things are changing. Yeah. Because I didn't even think about that initially. I thought to myself, well, I've just told it to you. Why would you want more? Why would you ask me to put it all down? Yeah. And then it kind of it dawned on me that
well, even the recruitment process is changing, and even the way that brokerages hire. I know now there's companies that you can just feed the CVs through.
Yeah.
And it will say, based on my requirement for, whatever role you're hiring for, it will scan all these CVs and give you the top 5 that you need to interview in order and explain why.
Yeah.
So even, if you're in recruitment, if you're a head of recruitment or you're in the recruitment department of a brokerage, start looking at these tools to get through CVs a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Even though you're going to miss you're going to miss that gem, aren't you?
I'm not so sure, because many of these CVs would also be written by ChatGPT for starters. so the human would not have had that much input in it to start with, right? So if you're assessing all these different CVs, if you're smart, which comes back to your prompts question about being able to prompt the AI,
prompt your way through life,
prompt you to say, make sure that if this was to go through.
It's not detected.
A screening system. This one's one of the ones that comes out. That's what I'm saying. This is all changing so quickly, so fast, and I'm not claiming to be, the
soothsayer.
Yeah, the soothsayer, or even the champion for it. I'm definitely not saying. What I'm saying, it's happening, and we've got to stay with it, regardless, because it's going to change the way that things happen.
The marketing departments are likely to change.
So
in brokerages, what do you think?
So, now even with AI, I was on a site earlier. You can make a website within 3 seconds. Yeah. You can literally speak, tell it everything, and you can have a website within 3 seconds. Okay. Make a few tweak changes. There's also another tool for making the reels and all these kind of things that right now many people are doing. The AI is going to be able to do very, very quickly. They're able to make it. They'll be able to do the A/B testing. Yeah. They'll be able to, check to see which one's going to get the, and it's able to post it. Yeah. So all of these things are going to descriptions.
They've been writing themselves anyway for a while.
Yeah, all of these things are going to get more and more and more and faster. And AI is also going to get smarter.
Yes, the more, because it's probably at working to 10% of its.
Every 6 months, it's gonna get a lot of significantly smarter.
What was that? I saw an article today. It was like the cost of, you don't have to be polite to AI. Yeah. Like the cost of please and thank you, it's costing them billions. It's costing the AI companies billions in responding to your thank yous.
Yeah.
So you don't need to be polite, but it does actually help train the machine on what politeness is. Okay. Back office. Marketing's going to change. Conveyancing's going to change, get streamlined. Recruitment's going to change. Sounds like just a lot of streamlining, which means that teams might reduce slightly.
Yes.
Okay.
I think so.
Right. So if you are, let's talk to...
In their current format.
In their current format.
Yeah.
So start diversifying your skill base. What would your advice be to back office support teams?
My advice to everybody, from the administrator to
Receptionist.
to the receptionist to the business owner.
Is the receptionist safe?
That's front of house. So I mean, to everyone would be to.
What if robots come in and replace?
So I'm not saying that it's going to go to that much that quickly. We still need the human interaction. I think that is still an important part. But my thing would be for everybody is to start spending more time than you currently are into learning about AI and to being interacting and to using it across the board. Everybody is. It really is going to be the biggest thing. We've seen a lot of technology change and evolve over the time, but what's about to happen now is everybody's going to feel it, no matter what.
And we can't even fathom what it's going to.
Listen, AI has been around a long time. Let's not get this twisted to make out like this is just this new thing. When years in 10, 15 years ago, when you used to have your credit card and you'd go shopping and you do your regular, and then if, for example, some high value purchases went through, and the bank flagged that.
That's AI.
Much of that was AI. So AI has been around for a long time. It's not like this is this new thing that's coming. But what the thing that's changed it so much is now it's gone direct to the end user. In terms of that was used commercially for things like that for a very long time. But now it's gone to the end user, and they are now able to use it and action it themselves. Some of the young people now, they're going to get used to using AI. My daughter, who's 7, is going to be used to using AI throughout her whole life. And that will kind of, it will know a lot about her because it will know so much about her. When she then decides to purchase her another property, it will already know the type of property that she'll like based on her lifestyle. Yeah. So it'll know that she wants to maybe live next to the beach, or she wants a garden because she enjoys gardening. These types of things that right now people are typically telling their broker. AI will already know it. Yeah. So it will say, I know you like going to the gym. Yeah. So this property's got a gymnasium in it.
So actually that's really good advice on what we should all be doing is start training your AI on you and your preferences. Yeah. Like let it know what kind of tone you like, tell it as much about, but then don't you feel like some people are a bit, I don't want to tell everything.
I wouldn't look at it from the point of trying to tell your AI that it picks it up anyway as you're working along the line. What I would just say is, and most people that at this stage, because this is really early entry in terms of for the consumer using it. Most people treat AI a little bit like Google, and they put basic Google type requests.
Well, I think that's a generational thing because there's, I think you and we still Google.
Yeah. Many of the young people now
they don't.
They've skipped. They're straight to Snapchat or to other.
No, I'm talking about when they've got a question. Yeah, they're going straight to ChatGPT, whereas we still Google it. Yeah, but they're straight into ChatGPT. So ChatGPT knows enough about this person.
So that's what I'm saying. So you don't have to put any effort in order to kind of let it know. It will pick up all of that, and the more you use it, the more it will learn about you, and then the more it will learn about what's beneficial for you and what you would like, and that will come into part of your life, including housing.
So, back to back office. There was a report done by Harvard University, I think it was, or Oxford, one or the other. Can't remember. Don't quote me on this. But PricewaterhouseCoopers predicts that by 2030. AI could eliminate 30% of traditional real estate jobs globally. Not just agents, but also mortgage brokers and property managers. And property management, I've seen, again, something that's very heavily human to human, emotional, and not good emotions between you and your property manager. That's something that can definitely be overhauled with technology.
Two comments back again on that one.
Go on.
The first one, happy to hear either Harvard or Oxford that are saying they're saying similar lines to what I'm saying already, which they've said 30%. Yeah. Which is the actual losses. I'm saying changes in terms of the dynamic. But the second thing is regarding property management and property maintenance, how that's going to change. We already ourselves. So there's an app that the team's been using where we've transcribed all of our WhatsApps that we're using, because we have a property management business as well. So we've transcribed all of the messages that have gone through that. We've then got all of that, and then we've put all of that into ChatGPT, and then it's been able to then tell us 40% of the properties that we look after and that the team manage, the problems are with,
AC.
Yes, AC. So then it lets us know then, for example, we need to have somebody permanently that's doing X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
And just by going through and streamlining through all that process, it can tell us about the business and about what needs to be changed, what needs to be, streamlined, and where to put more focus.
And you'll end up not just doing reactive maintenance, then it'll be like proactive. Oh, we know that in June, our number of AC unit leakages triples.
Correct.
So we're going to send out the teams in May, for example. So that's
Correct.
all coming.
Yeah.
Okay. Where is AI already winning? So I think like property descriptions, the CRMs,
It is, but all of this stuff is tip of the iceberg stuff. It's tip of the iceberg stuff. Where we're at now to where it's going to go,
just touching
we're not even touching the surface. It's really gonna be quite surprising where it's gonna go across the board. And the more that everybody kind of gets involved and starts learning about it, they'll start. It's almost like you end up going down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Of things. This leads to this. This leads to this. So yeah, I'd implore everyone to try and learn as much as possible, because it'll make you a better broker, it'll make you a better business owner.
You've said that a few times, like you're imploring everyone to learn as much as possible. What are you using? How are you training yourself to YouTube, podcasts? What are you?
So number one, I've got no skin in the game, as it were. I'm not representing, I'm not here for, flying the flag for artificial intelligence with any kind of benefit for myself on it. It's just something I genuinely believe in. Yeah. And I'm also at a stage in my career now that I genuinely want to help those other guys that are coming up and that are coming through, and let them know what I believe is going to happen, how I see it's going to happen, and then how they can kind of like offset that for themselves. They save themselves.
Because it would have, your comment did create a stir, and certainly if I was new into the industry and I heard that, I'd think to myself, it's hard enough as it is. Shall I just pack up and go back home? Yeah. Is that what you're saying to them?
No, I wasn't suggesting that anyone should pack up and go back home, but I am suggesting that if some of those comments that I've made have concerned you or worried you, then I'd say take action, and take action now, because if you don't, then the situation is going to become even tougher and even harder. And those that do take action are going to be the ones that are gonna benefit from being more knowledgeable and being able to be an even better broker. And those that don't, they will lose their job.
Yeah. And I actually think that there's a real opportunity here for, you look at 10 years ago, there's probably, of the agents that were smashing it 10 years ago, there's probably only a few hundred maybe that are still in the industry. Hundreds, let's say 1,000,
right,
that are still doing it right now. Yeah. Survival of the fittest. Yeah. Those that really position themselves well in the dawn of AI, and as it kind of starts taking over, they've got a chance to make serious money, because there's not going to be that much competition. They're going to be, it's like having the best plastic surgeons in the city.
There we go.
Like you're going to be the creme de la creme. You're going to have waiting lists of people to...
Let's have a positive spin to this. Let's have a positive spin to this. I know that the negative one is normally the one that kind of...
Let's not sensationalize.
Let's get a positive spin, right? Those that stop, think about where we're at, which is it's almost like a new dawn in terms of what's going to be taking place now, and really think about it and think to themselves, okay, so if these things that have already started were to continue to accelerate at the speed at which they're going right now, where is this going to go and what's this going to do? And for those guys that do take it on, yes, smaller brokerages, smaller companies are going to be able to give the larger companies a run for the money, as long as the larger companies don't also adapt and don't also move as well. So I'll put it like this. A smaller brokerage that adapts to AI and utilizes that, combined with smart marketing and all the other things, compared to a much larger company that doesn't and believes I've been doing this for 10 years and it's been going very well. Nothing's going to change. I'm going to carry on. That smaller company will eat that larger company's for breakfast.
I mean, and I've had the CEOs of these larger companies on my show. They're very forward thinking.
Yeah.
So they are definitely up to something. They're definitely on the case. They're definitely aware of it.
Yeah.
They're definitely looking into it.
Many of them are. Some have buried their head in the sand
Yeah.
and don't believe that things are going to change that much. But yeah, many of them
And I think everyone's kind of waiting to see what the next one's going to do. But your advice and my advice is start looking into it now.
100%.
Be the first runner.
Get the edge.
Get the edge.
Yeah.
And then don't be a trailblazer. Don't be a follower.
Which is what I'm doing now. You guys need to wake up and smell the coffee on this one.
So aside from studying it, learning it,
Implementing it. They need to start implementing it.
Using it.
So when
training.
you're dealing with your clients, and start using ChatGPT, which is kind of one of the most well-known AIs that that's easily available. Start using it before
get the premium package.
before you're going out with your clients. You know the local area already, but you can use this even to find out even more detailed information regarding the location and around the areas and around the property, so that you can be an even better broker for your clients.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what other advice do you have on how a broker should be positioning themselves?
Great question. Negotiation. Negotiation, ultimately, as you said, that process is becoming smaller and smaller and smaller. Negotiation, being able to negotiate well for your client is going to play in a much more important part in that. That's not to say with time that may not also
be handled by
that
AI.
may also be handled. But for now, that's going to be an important
funny
part.
you should say that, actually, because I actually think being a real estate agent, you might end up being kind of a bit like a sports agent. You watched
Jerry Maguire, Show Me the Money.
So if you look at how sports agents negotiate for their client, and their client is their client, exclusive with them. So there's a lot to be learned on, let's start from the very beginning, branding yourself as an agent, as a negotiator. Because if we think that the service begins at a much later stage, it's not that you're a real estate broker. You are an advisor. You are a strategist. You are a negotiator. So you have got to have the right brand, first of all.
On that point, let me talk, because you've hit the nail on the head. Personal branding is going to be one of the most important things for many of the brokers moving forward. The best known beats the best,
right?
And that's going to be how it is going to be moving forward. That's going to be critical for those that are moving forward. So if people say, "What can I do? What's the most important thing? Where do I need to go?" Personal brand, because as AI does take a greater seat at the table, those that have that personal brand are going to be the ones that are going to they're going to be the ones that are known, that are going to be recognized, and the people are going to want to go to. Because if you're going to be dealing with a human, you're going to be wanting to deal with one that you understand the way that their mind thinks and where they're coming from.
And I go on about this a lot, where talk about the importance of social media for real estate agents. I'm not going to do that now. What I am going to say is, start thinking about, get your crystal ball out and go through, okay, if I want to be a real estate agent in 5 years' time and I want to be one of the elite ones, I need to feed this machine with data that only I can give it right now. So if you are, for example, a Jumeirah Golf Estates specialist, start writing blogs. Have your own website. Start writing blogs about Jumeirah Golf Estates, so that the machine starts learning that, Ainsley Duncombe, he knows an awful lot about Jumeirah Golf Estates. So that when someone says they want to buy in Jumeirah Golf Estates, your name comes up as a source. Or when...
let me just change one of the words in your sentence that you just said right now, because you just said start writing blogs. I think what you may have meant is start publishing blogs.
Okay,
because, once again...
publishing blogs.
Yeah, publishing blogs.
Use AI to help you write it.
But we're laughing about it, but that shows us exactly how it's.
Yeah.
Even our mindset is not keeping up
Yeah,
with
you've
what's
got to get
taking
your
place,
head
what's
round
happening.
it.
There's no more writing blogs.
Yeah.
There's editing blogs.
Publishing.
But publishing is going to be what it
Yeah.
is. So it means, so now imagine you're a broker, you've been here, 1 year, 2 years, and you're working away. Well, now you've got no excuse not to be publishing 5 times, 7, 10 times more than the guy that sits next to you in the office that works in a similar area. And the reason for that is because you're able to use AI and ChatGPTs more specifically to be able to help you have that much more information, that much more content, put together that much more materials.
And be Googleable.
So that now when it comes full circle, they're able to find you and see you're a fantastic agent for Jumeirah Golf Estate. And also when the consumer's now looking for you, there's that much more information. So that's a great a real life example of what you can do, which is publishing.
Another one, not just publishing blogs, publishing podcasts. Because again, every podcast comes with a transcript that's fed in. And before you know it, all the data or all the transcripts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts are going to be feeding into these machines and learning who's an expert. So get your head around it. Start publishing, start producing. It's not just about social media presence. Of course, that is important, but okay, so your journey begins a lot later. You're going to need to nail one thing down as well as the other, sorry. So I think one thing that I think goes so people, there's no training courses for this. Nobody does this. But the style of showing a property, how you do a viewing needs to be like, if you were selling Bentleys, there's going to be a process to how you show the car, do the test drive, how you kind of say, here's the whatever else. There's nobody teaching people how to, well, there is, but how to do a viewing. Go on YouTube now, start typing in how to do a successful showing or viewing as a real estate agent. There will be so many lessons to be learned on how to and how not to do a viewing. Agreed? Because you're going to need to be like an Olympic agent, an Olympic standard agent to do a proper. Remember, you're going from 20 viewings to 3 viewings, so each viewing has to count.
Yes,
you don't think it's that important?
It's not a case I don't think it's that important. I think that now it's easier than ever to be able to get knowledge and to be able to get information. So once again, you can quite easily speak into the AI and say, what is the 10 most important things that I need to be aware of? Do you know really what I'm trying to say? There's no more excuses. There is no more excuses because it is now easier than ever for anybody, young or old, to get all of the information that they need to be able to get, and it's easier than at their fingertips. It's no longer at the end of your fingertips, guys. It's at the end of your tongue. Because you can literally just speak in and say, I've got these viewings and I want to know what is the best way in order to be able to do it. And all of that information comes down and then you can continue to keep going all the way through and start learning. So there's no more excuses, which means that the quality of the brokers should start to increase and then start to level up because
that means fees can go up as well.
And
it's not all bad news.
It's definitely not all doom and gloom, but it is important that you can kind of
level up quickly.
Level up and quickly. Speed is important.
Publishing, that's one. Level up your. I'm going to stand by it. Level up the way that you do viewings.
No, I wasn't pushing back on that and saying that the viewings are not important.
But involve AI if you can.
Yeah. You definitely can.
Negotiation. Learn how to negotiate. Olympic standard negotiation.
Yep.
Closing. Aftercare. Follow-up AI can handle, but what else does an agent need to do, if anything? Or is
follow-up AI can handle.
And personal brand,
and personal brand. But there's nothing better than the personal touch. People always appreciate when you reach out to them with a personal touch. So I would say let AI have its place. Let it help you and assist you, make you more knowledgeable. But definitely don't lose the personal touch because that is something that AI can't do.
It's difficult to get your head round. We're trying to get our head round it. Like we said, we're by no means claiming to be experts, but what's your closing thoughts on this?
My closing thoughts on this was everybody in the comments and some of the other, we're talking about, is it 12 months, 18 months, 24, 25 months? Guys, while you're arguing, discussing about how many months until this change happened, what you're not realizing is the change has already happened today.
Yeah.
It's already started. So forget about how long it's going to happen, how long you think it's going to take. Make the changes right now, today, and start implementing this stuff. Because if you don't, those that are, there's two types of people in this. It's quite simple. Those that do and those that don't. And those that do are going to succeed and they're going to do very, 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 very well.
Yeah.
And those that don't are going to suffer. It's that simple. And I like to use basic analogies. It's the guy that's using the oven to cook the jacket potato and the guy that's using the microwave.
Yeah. Or the air fryer.
Or the air fryer or whatever you want it to be, right? One is taking 45 minutes. I don't even know how long it takes to cook a jacket potato in the oven anymore because I haven't cooked it like that for so long, compared to the guy that's going to be doing it in 4 minutes or 6 minutes. The difference is going to be that big.
But arguably, quality is better because the oven, the traditional way of doing it, you get a much better potato. Is it the same in real? I'm still quite a traditionalist.
There is that. There is that. And there's an argument over speed versus the quality. But I think outside of the food element, in the real estate element, I think speed is going to win. And those that are able to offer better value, better quality, faster, are going to be the ones that are going to be able to clean up the other ones.
What are you doing to brace for AI or to embrace AI?
So the most important thing is to try and get as much knowledge as possible through some of the, speaking to people, industry experts. You can find a lot on YouTube, using AI as well. You can find lots of different things. But one of the things that I also want to do, I also want to help the next generation that are coming through and the younger people that are coming up. I've been very fortunate in my time in the UAE in terms of, some of the companies that I've worked with, some of the things that I've done myself and been successful with. Now, what I'd really like to focus on is being able to help some of the next generation and be able to give some of that knowledge back with much of the tech that they've got, combine the two of those and see how we can kind of work to with those guys. So my focus is going to be a lot on the next gen coming up and seeing what I can do to help them. I'm still doing the real estate. That's not going away. But I do feel it's important to send the elevator back down.
That's a good. That's a nice way of thinking.
To the others and saying, listen, you can also come up as well, and I'd like to do what I can to help them, because when I was coming through, there wasn't anybody able to kind of assist and help me. So I'd like to try and spend more time on that.
Legacy, love it.
Legacy.
Well, I hope we've changed your mind if you were part of the 61% that said disagree that life is going to change as a real estate agent. I've certainly changed. I changed my mind a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yes, just
we've got one. We've got one. Where
off plan?
Which about off plan?
Off plan.
So you agree that off plan is going to change significantly, and you didn't see that before?
Yeah. So I think off plan is definitely it's so easy for it to all be automated.
And the funniest thing about that, over 60% of the transactions that are happening right now are off plan.
Right.
So already, just by you saying that, you've agreed that 60% of the transactions are going to change.
I mean, the transactions will still happen.
They'll still happen.
Will they happen through you as a broker or a much smaller pool of elite off-plan agents? Yeah. Who knows? Wait and see. Let's re-record in 6 months. Maybe 6 months is too long. We should do another episode, an AI follow-up with all that we've learned.
Yeah.
And all the new products that might have come in.
That's going to be the big game changer as well. At the moment, there's literally only a handful of very well-known, widely used AI. ChatGPT being the biggest one. Wait until we start seeing the industry-specific ones that have started to come out, especially for real estate and especially in this region. That's when we're going to start seeing the arms race take place.
And the thing is, there are so many startups in this space.
So many.
But you know what the problem is? Fundraising. It takes a lot of money to produce. And you were in tech, so you know this is expensive stuff. So a lot of them are actually spending. They've got the idea.
Yes.
They've got the product. They're spending all their time fundraising to finance it.
True, but as I said, and we go right back to the beginning, in the next 12 to 18 months, we're going to start seeing some of these come online, and this is when the game starts changing. So just to be really clear, ChatGPT is just one. There's going to be a whole lot more iterations of different things that are going to come out there, especially for real estate, but in all the industries. But as we're talking about real estate,
well, they call it wrappers, don't they? So it's actually a product on top of ChatGPT.
that's right.
So don't
specific.
Yeah. So don't think that all AI products are their own intellectual property. A lot of them are. If you think of it as like a dressing on top of a salad, the salad is ChatGPT, and you can have Thousand Island, you can have...
That's right. The legal industry is going to have something more specific for themselves. The real estate industry is going to have something more specific. Different industries are going to have things that are going to be more specific, but this is when these things are going to really start ramping up, and they're going to be that much more useful because then they are going to be able to give us even more information and give the consumer more information as well.
Well, Ainsley, thank you very much for coming on and explaining yourself.
Thank you for inviting me. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah.
And I really look forward to seeing more and more brokers, people in the industry, understanding the positives from this, taking it on board, accepting it, and utilising that. You know, bumped into someone on the street. I heard what you said, and now I've started using it, and now I'm starting to, be able to offer even more value to my clients and customers, and that's what's most important.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be fast moving, so let's try and catch up in 6 months' time and see what's developed, what predictions may have come true, and what's new. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope that was useful. Please drop whatever your thoughts are in the comments. If you want to challenge anything that we've said, if you think there's a really cool AI product that we should be looking out for, just, let's just make the down here bit a nice little community vibe, sharing educational information. Thank you very much. Like, share, and subscribe.